second, I thought it might be interesting to talk a little bit, since we're at a family office investing conference, about what the secrets of Carmen are that are relevant to all of us. So my journey with Carmen began many, many years ago, and the first time I saw this opera when I was 13 years old, like Don Jose, I immediately fell in love with Carmen. I was raptured by her and the exciting story. This was my first opera. Little by little, as the years went on, though, I realized that this opera was actually about something else. It's about investing. Now, if tonight you were somewhat distracted by Carmen's charms and missed two of her secrets of alternative investment portfolio construction, here's some thoughts from a behavioral finance point of view. So what investment secrets does Carmen have for us? In many ways, she's like a lot of investments that we see. When first presented, she's extremely hard to resist. Almost too good to be true, and Don Jose falls in love along with us. At the same time, though, Carmen warns us, if I love you, watch out. It's right there in the disclaimer. This investment is very, very risky. What interferes with Don Jose's ability to heed Carmen's disclaimer? It's a feeling we're all familiar with. Behavioral psychologists call it emotional bias. It's a distortion in decision-making that happens when something provokes a very pleasant feeling, even if there is strong evidence to the contrary. Next in the opera, we meet Micaela, a wonderful, pretty girl from Don Jose's hometown. Jose learns that after years of due diligence, his mother has recommended that he invest in Micaela by marrying her. In the letter, Don Jose's mother writes, "There is no one any smarter nor any kinder than Micaela, and Jose has known Micaela since childhood. She's proved herself to be a consistently safe investment. She's mother approved." We all know how important that is. We're at a family office conference, for God's sake. So, Micaela, smart, pretty, parent approved. Why is Don Jose not interested? She's a perfect partner. Micaela's track record has none of the volatility, none of Carmen's high-risk, high-reward characteristics. So why does Jose dismiss years of personal experience and on-site due diligence and choose the dangerous Carmen? We continue to the work of Nobel Prize winners Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky for answers. Optimism bias is our tendency to overestimate the probability of favorable and pleasing outcomes, and to believe that we are less at risk of experiencing a negative event compared to others. The optimism bias occurs for both positive outcomes, such as believing oneself to be more likely to be successful in romance or in investment returns, and also negative outcomes, such as believing oneself less likely to experience catastrophic losses in love or in our portfolios. Research actually suggests that the bias is stronger for the avoidance of negative events. So Don Jose's optimism bias makes him believe that Carmen's volatility won't negatively impact him. Now, recency bias compounds it. This is our tendency to easily recall the things that have happened in the recent past more vividly than things that have occurred a longer time ago. Micaela's reliable performance is old news, unfortunately, while Carmen's eye-catching performance is brand new to Jose. Next, we learn that Carmen has tried to murder her coworker. Now this is some very important intraday data. Carmen's sudden violence. Her sudden violence highlights the need to calculate risk parameters using recent and historical volatility. If only Don Jose was using a sophisticated VAR model capable of incorporating intraday data, everything would have worked out okay. So, acknowledging, at least for now, that Carmen may be somewhat risky, Don Jose actually does attempt to put some portfolio protection in place. He ties Carmen's hands to restrain her. He literally has Carmen in bonds. If only there were stocks. Soon, Jose will be in jail. Soon Carmen will be in jail, and his portfolio risk, however, will be mitigated. But, of course, he's seduced away from his downside protection strategy by Carmen's promise to choose him over all her other suitors. And here we written something called the scarcity heuristic. This is a mental shortcut that places a value on an item based on how easily it might be lost, especially to competitors. The appearance of scarcity triggers a mental shortcut. We fail to independently value a decision and its potential consequences, and instead base our assessment on the value that other people appear to assign. Don Jose didn't plan to release Carmen from her bonds. He tries to silence her. She begins to work her persuasive magic. Here he succumbs to something called restraint bias, our tendency to overestimate our ability to resist temptation. Unfortunately, with no downside protection in place, with his enormous investment in Carmen made, Don Jose's portfolio is dangerously undiversified. He's sent to jail as punishment for allowing Carmen to escape, jeopardizing his chances for career advancement, and also separating him from Carmen. Micaela goes back home by herself, and Don Jose's mother is not very happy, I can imagine. So Carmen decides to go to the tavern to entertain everyone except Don Jose. Jose's portfolio is declining fast. He's finally released, and off to the tavern he goes to see Carmen. He's ready to invest even more in this position. Carmen induces the irrational exuberance of the greatest tech IPO. She's social, like Facebook. She provides transportation, like Uber. She's really hot, like weather.com. And everybody wants to sleep with her, like Airbnb. It's a case of social proof. At the tavern, Carmen is surrounded by her beautiful friends and courted by her many suitors, including Don Jose's boss, Zuniga, and the famous toreador, Escamilla. Carmen is popular. She's undoubtedly, however, a very, very crowded trade. Is she, however, a positive expectation investment? Jose, if you think about it, has a greater chance of success if he goes after one of Carmen's friends, Fresquita or Mercedes, far less crowded. But Carmen knows what she's doing. She treats Jose to a private, exotic dance. Jose hears the bugles calling him back to his barracks. Carmen is furious when Jose says he must go and manage the rest of his portfolio. Carmen says, of course, we're finished. Now we see some of the most powerful behavioral and investment biases. Loss aversion, coined by Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky. This is our tendency to hate to lose more than we love to win. The potential loss of Carmen ignites in Jose an even more powerful and irrational attachment to Carmen. He pursues her relentlessly and invests even more. He joins the gypsies in their life of crime, and his portfolio is plummeting. Carmen has a new love, the toreador Escamillo, and the gypsy girls read their fortunes with cards. Here, Carmen shows her vulnerability to behavioral biases, her neglect of probability, the tendency to completely disregard probability when making a decision under uncertainty, blinds her to her own likelihood of doing. Similarly, this is my favorite part, it highlights the value of statistical pattern recognition. The trend is down, we know that, but both Carmen and Jose fail to hear the dire warning of their predictive analytics. And they should heed the warning, because when somebody predicts the future in an opera, it always comes true. So I'm a quantitative, systematic hedge fund manager, and you can see why I like this so much. And I should probably say that we do not actually use cards to make our predictions, but you get the idea. Jose actually has one more chance at the end of the opera to save himself and save his portfolio. Micaela is back and tries to convince Jose to abandon Carmen and return to his home. She is actually, literally, his protective stop loss. She even sings it, protège-moi, protect me. She might as well be singing, always have an exit point and protect yourself from catastrophic losses. So let's look a little bit at Micaela to finish up. She's actually a pretty unusual thing. She's not like most downside protective strategies. Most insurance, like fire insurance for a home, has a high cost but pays back when there's a fire. But not Micaela. She's not just good in an emergency. She provides immediate positive returns too. She's beautiful, she has a great personality, and she's considerably less violent than Carmen. Now, if you think about when Micaela appears in the opera, it's when Carmen is at her most volatile, when Don Jose makes his worst choices. That's when she tries hardest to protect Jose. You might even say she's negatively correlated to Carmen. By dismissing Micaela for the final time, Don Jose misses an opportunity to minimize his losses and receive large benefits simultaneously. If only there was a hedge fund that could offer downside protection and simultaneous positive return. Of course, in the opera, Jose fails to make the proper choice for his portfolio. Though Carmen has made it clear that she will never again love him, Jose stays in the trade to the end. He remains fixated on the happier times long past. Instead of focusing on his whole portfolio, he can only think of his one big losing position, Carmen. And with his focus narrowed only to Carmen, at the end of the opera, Jose's portfolio is wiped out. To conclude, I'll leave you with a few questions rather than answers. How can we avoid making emotional decisions and instead carefully incorporate the lessons of history and statistics in our investments? How can we avoid the overuse of recent information and make choices that benefit us the most in the long term? How can we be open to negatively correlated investments that help us during crises and periods of volatility? And finally, how can we be more willing to consider investments that look less attractive on a standalone basis, but provide a combination of downside protection and portfolio benefit? I look forward to hearing your ideas. Thank you.